Om Ajnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Dhena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Now we're taking up in the Sri Caitanya Caritamrta, and the reason we're taking it up is because we're the luckiest people on the planet. We have everything we need to be happy. We have the Bhagavatam, we have the Caitanya Caritamrta, we have the Bhagavad Gita, Nectar Devotion, Upadeshamrita, and other books, all with Prabhupada's purports, everything complete. We have the holy name, and if we're lucky, we have a little prasadam and some service to do, and a place to lie down. And if we have that, then there's no other cause for happiness in this world. Everything else just is uncomfortable, and it's one adjustment after another that leaves us wanting or lacking. The only thing that actually fills up the heart is the process of bhakti, starting with Shravanam Kirtanam. It's the medicine that cures the most nasty, gruesome disease of all, and that's avidya, which leads to death. Nivrtatarshurupagiyamana pavaushadashotramano ka utamashloku gunanavadat puman virajita vinapashugnad. This is the medicine that is received through disciplic succession, and just by taking this medicine, then one crosses over bhava, or the dangerous ocean of repeated birth and death. So Shukadeva Goswami goes on to say that don't hesitate to take this. Don't miss your medicine. People go off their meds, they go crazy. We've seen this before. What happened? He went off his meds. Stay on your meds and take your Bhagavatam every single day. Take your Caitanya Caritamrta every single day. Take your Harinam Sankirtan every single day, and you won't go crazy and jump back in the ocean of poison. So we're continuing here, hearing Kaviraj Goswami's divine words, revealed words. We heard earlier this conversation between Krishna and Brahma. In fact, there was a question about that earlier, about where that comes from. And with a little research, I'll tell you something from a commentary from one of the acharyas about that conversation. Of course, that conversation, as I mentioned, is taking place after the Brahma Vimohana Lila, but we don't find it in the Bhagavatam. So one of the commentators, Vaishnava commentators, Radha Govindanath, says in this section of the Caitanya Caritamrta, Brahmra utkita kathar uttare Shri Krishna je kichu baliyachena e rupa ukti Srimad Bhagavate nai. Brahmara kathar uttare Shri Krishna jaha balite parena baliya Brahma ashanka karyachalena tahai Shri Krishna ukti rupe e payar ulkite hayache. And that is in response to the statements of Brahma mentioned previously. Whatever Sri Krishna said is not to be found in the Srimad Bhagavatam. However, whatever Brahma contemplated about what Krishna desired to say is spoken directly here in this verse of the Caitanya Caritamrta. So this is, as we said and now confirmed, the commentary of Kaviraj Goswami. This is the power of revealed scripture. We hear all the time of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his commentaries telling us this is what Krishna was thinking at the time, this is what his devotee was thinking. And we find that also in the commentaries in the Bhagavad Gita and elsewhere, the insight into what's actually going on, the power of revealed scripture. And here, Kaviraj Goswami is giving us the inner conversation that's going on between Krishna and Brahma. So we have this intimate view of the actual mood of what's happening here. Text number 93. Ashraya janite kahi e nava pradarta. Ena vera utpatti hetu she ashrayarta. To know distinctly the ultimate shelter of everything that be, I have described the other 9 categories. The cause for the appearance of these 9 is rightly called their shelter. Krishna ek sarvashraya Krishna sarvadham. Krishnara sharire sarva bishvara bishram. The personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the shelter and abode of everything. All the universes rest in his body. Dashame dashamam laksham ashritashraya vigraham Shri Krishnakyam param dhamma jagat dhamma namami tat. The 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam reveals the 10th object, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the shelter of all surrendered souls. He is known as Sri Krishna, and he is the ultimate source of all the universes. Purport. This quotation comes from Sridhar Swami's commentary on the first verse of the 10th canto, chapter 1 of Srimad Bhagavatam. Text number 96. Krishnera Swarup Aro Shakti Traya Gyan Jarhai Tar Nahi Krishnete Agyan. One who knows the real feature of Sri Krishna and his 3 different energies cannot remain ignorant about him. Purport. Srila Jiva Goswami states in his Bhagavat Sandarbha 16 that by his potencies, which act in natural sequences beyond the scope of the speculative human mind, the supreme transcendence, the summum bonum, eternally and simultaneously exists in 4 transcendental features. His personality, his impersonal effulgence, particles of his potency, the living beings, and the principal cause of all causes. The supreme whole is compared to the sun, which also exists in 4 features, namely the personality of the sun god, the glare of his glowing sphere, the sun rays inside the sun planet, and the sun's reflections in many other objects. The ambition to corroborate the existence of the transcendental absolute truth by limited conjectural endeavors cannot be fulfilled because he is beyond the scope of our limited speculative minds. In an honest search for truth, we must admit that his powers are inconceivable to our tiny brains. The exploration of space has demanded the work of the greatest scientists of the world, yet there are countless problems regarding even fundamental knowledge of the material creation that bewilders scientists who confront them. Such material knowledge is far removed from the spiritual nature, and therefore the acts and arrangements of the absolute truth are, beyond all doubts, inconceivable. The primary potencies of the absolute truth are mentioned to be 3, internal, external, and marginal. By the acts of his internal potency, the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his original form exhibits the spiritual cosmic manifestations known as Vaikuntha Lokas, which exist eternally even after the destruction of the material cosmic manifestation. By his marginal potency, the Lord expands himself as living beings who are part of him, just as the sun distributes its rays in all directions. By his external potency, the Lord manifests the material creation, just as the sun with its rays creates fog. The material creation is but a perverse reflection of the eternal Vaikuntha nature. These 3 energies of the absolute truth are also described in the Vishnu Purana, where it is said that the living being is equal in quality to the internal potency, whereas the external potency is indirectly controlled by the chief cause of all causes. Maya, the illusory energy, misleads a living being as fog misleads a pedestrian
by blocking off the light of the sun. Although the potency of Maya is inferior in quality to the marginal potency, which consists of the living beings who are part and parcel of the Lord, it nevertheless has the power to control the living beings, just as fog can block the actions of a certain portion of the sun's rays, although it cannot cover the sun. The living beings covered by the illusory energy evolve in different species of life, with bodies ranging from that of an insignificant ant to that of Brahma, the constructor of the cosmos. The pradhana, the chief cause of all causes in the impersonal vision, is none other than the Supreme Lord, who one can see face to face in the internal potency. He takes the material, all-pervasive form by his inconceivable power. Although all three potencies, namely internal, external, and marginal, are essentially one in the ultimate issue, they are different in action, like electric energy, which can produce both cold and heat under different conditions. The external and marginal potencies are so called under various conditions, but in the original internal potencies there is no such conditions, nor is it possible for the conditions of the external potency to exist in the marginal or vice versa. One who is able to understand the intricacies of all these energies of the Supreme Lord can no longer remain an empiric impersonalist under the influence of a poor fund of knowledge. Let's go to the top because there's a lot here. And also, I forgot again to download the link for questions. Here it is. I must have it. ISV Library questions. I do have it. Yay for thinking ahead. Okay. Oh, we already have a comment. Srivatsa says, the only thing that fills up the heart is the process of bhakti starting with Shravanam Kirtanam. Yes, exactly. And if you have that, you don't need anything else. You'll notice that those who are advanced in devotional service are satisfied with their process of service, starting with hearing and chanting. Nothing else needed. Okay, so now we're looking at the purport. So first of all, we have Srila Jiva Goswami from the Bhagavad Sandarbha is mentioning that Krishna's potencies, which act in natural sequences beyond the scope of the speculative human mind, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Supreme Transcendence, the Summum Bonum, eternally and simultaneously exists in four transcendental features. His personality is impersonal effulgence, particles of his potency, the living beings, and the principal cause of all causes. So here it is. He has potencies. This is very important because Krishna is the embodiment of, he's the Shaktiman, he's the source of all Shaktis. And he manifests those Shaktis in various ways. Sabhavika Jnana Bala Kriya Cha. There's Sat, Chit, Ananda features of the Lord. In Sat is being. Chit is knowing. Ananda is joy or feeling, happiness. And especially this Ananda is available only when there are two. So two means there's the source and then there's the Shaktis that come from the source and they interact, as we know from Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir Ladini Shakti Rasmat Ekat Manav Api Bhuvi Deha Bedham Gatau Tau Chetam Yakyam Prakadamaduna Tadvayam Chaikyamaptam Radha Bhava Duti Suvalitam Naumi Krishna Sarupam. Kaviraj Goswami includes this verse to describe how that the one has become two to enjoy. And now that the two, Radha and Krishna, have become one again in Caitanya Mahaprabhu, to taste the devotional service. And gatao tao, there's a singular, dual, and many form. So this tao ao means there's more than one. And they work in sequences. Parashya Shaktir Vivavdaya Vishuyate Swabhavika Jnana. So Bhavika Jnana, that there's a way that his potencies work in sequences, natural sequences beyond the scope of speculative human mind. So we can't understand how his potencies are working. Okay, so we have some questions here. Here's a question from Priya Kishori. I like Srila Prabhupada's example about how the pedestrian is misled by the sun. However, if the marginal energy is superior to Maya, then how come we find it so extremely difficult to overcome this covering? By our inherent nature, we should have the strength to rise above Maya, since the marginal energy is superior. I'm also remembering 714 in this connection, this divine energy of mind consisting of the three modes. A material nature is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. The reason is because that inferior nature is presided over by the Supreme, Daivahi Eshu Gunamayi, and Mayadhyakshena Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam. It's working under his control, ultimately. So although the energy is inferior, because it's under the control of the superior, we can't overcome it. We see this dichotomy in the world all the time. Human beings manipulate the energy because it is inferior, so they get to play with it a little bit. And as I mentioned in the Gita, Krishna says, Apareya metastanyam prakritim vidime param jiva bhuta mahabaho yayedam daryate jagat. He says, above the inferior energies, bhumirapunalo vayu kammano buddharevacha ahankara ityame bina prakritirashada, there's the paraprakriti. You can celebrate because now you know you're a paraprakriti. You're part of the internal potency. Yay! So why is it we get so enamored of the lower energy? Because it's, as Prabhupada says elsewhere, when you look at the sun in a mirror, it looks just like the sun. It's bright just like the sun. And similarly, this material energy is bright in many different ways. You look around and you say, oh, variety, enjoyment. Let me try it. It's a reflection, however, and it's important to know that. Now, let's just say the living entity who's superior to this earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, and even nowadays, all you engineers manipulating all this subtle energy as well. And you're having a lot of fun with it, creating faster and faster internet and all kinds of stuff. So you're manipulating, you're controlling it, but then we become controlled by it. You create an iPhone because you can, and then next thing you know, you're captured by the iPhone. Can't get away from it. Stuck. It captures the attention of little jiva. So jiva's small, even though he has the creative potency, and he can become enamored of the external energy because of its divine origin and the control over it by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's why he says, Daivahi Eshu Gunamayi, Mama Maya Duratyaya. It's his. So therefore it controls us. So the more we try to manipulate matter, the more we become manipulated by matter. That's a problem. It's Mamaivam Sho Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, Manak Shashtan Indriyani, Prakriti Stani Karshati. Karshati means grappling. We're trying very hard to manipulate the energy in different ways, aren't we? Trying to arrange it in different, just make an arrangement. You balance your checkbook and you got to find the right place to live so you can manipulate the energy in your favor. You try to get education as much as possible, manipulate the energy more, try to get the right partner, the right connections, put everything in place, put a fence around your property. But still we become oppressed by it because it comes from a superior source and it's being controlled by Krishna. So now let's look at the purport again, because there's a lot of important stuff here. So then Prabhupada says, he mentions the four aspects and compares it to the sun. So his personality, his impersonal effulgence, particles of his potency, the living beings, and the principal cause of all causes. So he compares to the sun. So this is an example given also in the Vishnu Purana, which was quoted to Sanatana Goswami by Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, and he was describing the Lord. It's a very simple example, but we can always remember this and come back to it, where he says, Vishnu Shakti Para Prokta. No, he says, Esha Desha Stitasyagnir Joshna Vistaraniyata Parasya Brahmana Shaktis Tateda Makilam Jagat. That the Supreme is like the sun, says the Vishnu Purana. So if you look at the sun, you can see how amazing it is. First of all, it's inexhaustible. And second of all, it's nourishing everything in the universe. And third of all, even though it's very far away, it's manifesting its energies to every part of the universe. And then, because of the presence of those energies, everything's going on. Right now in my garden, there are zucchinis growing and all kinds of squash. And how is it growing? Because the sun energy is manifesting it. All the various forms in the universe get manifest by the power of the sun. So similarly, Krishna is in one place in Goloka Vrindavan, but his effulgence is manifest everywhere within his creation. It is by the power of that impersonal energy of the Lord, which is just like the sun rays, that everything is manifest and again wound up again, and things are going on in natural sequences beyond the scope of the speculative mind. Then he says the supreme whole is compared to the sun, which is 4 features, which we just described. And then he says the ambition to corroborate the existence of the transcendental absolute truth by limited conjectural endeavors cannot be fulfilled because he is beyond the scope of our limited speculative minds. I mean, come on, that's a sentence right there. I can read it again, it's so good. The ambition to corroborate the existence of the transcendental absolute truth by limited conjectural endeavors cannot be fulfilled because he is beyond the scope of our limited speculative minds, which is a good thing, because if we could figure him out, he wouldn't be God. God means unlimited and inconceivable. So we can rejoice in the fact that once we get to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that we can't understand anything because he's beyond the speculative powers of the mind. We can understand only what he reveals to us. In an honest search for truth, we must admit that his powers are inconceivable to our tiny brains. The exploration of space has demanded the work of the greatest scientists of the world, yet there are countless problems regarding even fundamental knowledge of the material creation that bewilder scientists who confront them. Any scientists here present? Can you confirm? Do you feel bewildered? Vrindavan Priya, I think, told me that a physicist can spend 20 years studying one little particle, be completely absorbed in it, never come to the end of understanding one little particle, and still not even know what he or she is looking at after 20 years of writing papers and studying it. However, we do try to manipulate it. So mostly scientists end up, where the big money is making bombs. It's like you can figure out how to make a bomb from manipulating the energy so you can blow people up. And this is the extent of science. It can't go much further, and it can't conquer death. We can't solve the mysteries of the universe. It's a very superficial understanding, and the practical application is such that it's very difficult to control. Even a virus comes, and then the scientists work together with billions, trillions of dollars and say, make yourself a vaccine. And what is the prognosis? The prognosis says, we'll try. Maybe we can make it. And maybe we can't. We don't know. And if you ask any doctor about how you're doing or how you're likely to do, he or she will just give you the best answer that he or she can, and it's based on speculation, because we really don't know what's going to happen next. Such material knowledge is far removed from the spiritual nature, and therefore the acts and arrangements of the Absolute Truth are, beyond all doubts, inconceivable. So then Sukeshwari asks a question. She says, will a devotee ever meditate on impersonal effulgence? We were reading about Durvasa Muni meditating on impersonal Brahman in the episode of Ambarish Maharaj. Was that just a pastime? Well, Durvasa Muni is a kind of a mystic yogi, so he meditates in that way. It is a pastime. He's in pastimes mentioned throughout the Puranas, starting in Satya Yuga. He's in Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara, and Kali Yuga too. Durvasa's everywhere, but he represents a particular kind of transcendentalist who's enamored of the impersonal feature of the Lord. That's why when he challenged Ambarish Maharaj, this point is made in the Bhagavatam that Ambarish Maharaj was beyond intimidation by him. This Durvasa Muni, he goes everywhere and he eats people out of house and home, literally. Normally he doesn't eat much except for he takes some like wheatgrass juice. That's it. Durvasa Muni. He takes durva grass. That's all he eats. And then, of course, if he comes to somebody's house, he'll eat a lot. And he can eat and eat and eat. And he got angry at Ambarish Maharaj because Ambarish Maharaj took a little sip of water to break his Ekadashi fast before Durvasa came back to his abode. And he could tell by his mystic potencies that Ambarish had already taken something before his guest, and he was overcome by this sense of anger because he felt insulted, and he thought that Ambarish was inferior to him because he was a householder, and so he tried to curse him. He pulled out a hair from his dreadlocks. That's where the mystic yogis keep their power. Created a demon, and the demon was destroyed, and then the chakra of Krishna chased after Durvasa Muni, who had to finally come back and ask for forgiveness for Ambarish. And one of the points that's made in that whole pastime, Ambarish is a simple devotee. He just worships Krishna with all his limbs and with his wealth and so forth. And because of that, he was able to defeat the great Muni. I mean, he wasn't trying to defeat him. He just naturally did because he has Krishna's protection. Rameshwar Prabhu, thank you for checking in. When the living entity is driven by desire of making everything about I and mine, the living entity doesn't want to overcome the illusions of Maya because those illusions are the only way he can even think that I am this body and everything I perceive should be mine. Illusion is to accommodate the living entity's foolish desires. Such a nice point. This is something that Devamrita Swami points out frequently when he says that the living entities are engaged in mass consensual trance. I told about once when I was doing a Harinam from the Brooklyn Temple, and we had a vivacious group, I have to say. We came out, we were so excited to go on Harinam book distribution. We came exploding out of the doors of the temple, and we were headed downtown with such a lively kirtan party. We were feeling ecstasy because we were cutting through the Mayic curtain and the dross that hangs over New York City with the Harinam. And as we were going down the street, I started to notice that some people, when they see or hear the Harinam, they would go into ecstasy and they'd start dancing, or at least they'd smile. And other people would walk the other way, and some people completely ignored it. And we went so close to this one store where they were loading boxes into the shop. And we were so close, they were rocked by the vibration. But these two men didn't look up. And I was thinking at the time, how is it possible with this ecstasy flowing that you could pretend that it's not there? And then I had this realization that Rameshwar Prabhu just pointed out, which is that if you don't want to wake up, it's it's impossible for anybody to wake you up. You want the Maya, and Krishna. Krishna facilitates. Sarvasya chaham hridisani vishto matak smitir jnanam apohanam cha. He's so kind to the living entity that he fulfills every desire that he has. So Prabhupada says, so if you want to forget Krishna, he will give you a philosophy and the wherewithal to forget him forever, if that's what your desire is. And so you can ignore. The opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is actually indifference. And this indifference is based on ignorance. Ignorance is also called ignorance. I'm ignoring. It's horrible. It creates a void. You say, I'm avoiding someone. What are you doing, avoiding? Listen to the word, avoid. You're making a void because you're not paying attention to your eternal nature. Jivera swarupa hoy, Krishnera nitya das. I'm eternally a servant of Krishna. I should be joyful in service, but I somehow or other ignore it, and therefore I create darkness. And that's something that's brought up here, that this ignorance of the living entity, ignorance of God, creates this energy. Rameshwar is saying this is what the living entity wants. So it manifests from a subtle level into the gross material existence, which covers over the living entity by his own choice, so that he can try to enjoy separately from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Brahma, when he's creating the universe, makes these coverings. It's some sort of software that he provides for each one of the little robots that you get put into as a living entity, so that you can pretend I'm a bird, I'm a squirrel, I'm a man, I'm a woman. All these are an illusory show, and it's because of my own desire. By the same token, Bhagavatam says, Bhayam dvitya binibesha tasad ishad ape tasya viparya yosmriti tanmaya tad buddha abhajetam bhaktyaka yesham gurudeva tatma. That if you want to come out of this absorption in that which is not real, in your false identity as being some material entity, then turn your attention to Krishna. That's bhakti. Bhakti yoga means come see the deity and bow down. It feels so good to bow down. Nobody wants to do it in the material world. They think it'll hurt, it'll wreck my position. But if you just put your head on the ground in front of Krishna, then you don't need anything else. You feel satisfied. Okay, I'm okay now. And Tanmaya Buddha Abhajet Tam Bhaktyaka Yesham. So Bhagavatam gives full permission. Now give your complete attention to Krishna. You don't have to do anything else. Tasmad ekena manasa bhagavan sattvatam pati shrotavya kirtitavyasya deya pujam chanityada. Says the Bhagavatam, just give your full attention to worshiping Krishna through Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atman, Nivedanam, and everything will come naturally from that. The light will come rushing back in, and you'll become happy. If you love the Bhagavatam, you love it. You can't live without the Bhagavatam. It's your worshipable deity. You keep the Bhagavatam and you wake up to the Bhagavatam. You go to sleep to the Bhagavatam. You see the Bhagavatam and you want to do puja. You want to bow down to it. That's life. That's light. That's Krishna. And all the other nonsense that's going on in the world, all the noise, who said what about whom, what's the next big move by the some musician or some politician. Shotavyadin Rajendra Ninam Sahasrasaha. Shukadev Goswami says, this nonsense has been going on since time immemorial. People have millions of things to talk about, but they're all detrimental to our spiritual health and advancement. Only Bhagavatam, Bhagavat Katha, is helpful. Krishna Katha, Hare Krishna mantra. Thank you, Rameshwar Prabhu. It's so nice to be there. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna! Jai, good to see you.
So you were talking about the iPhone and the creator and how that captured our attention. There's a famous singer here in Argentina that he said that the conqueror, by taking care of his conquest, becomes a slave.
Right. Yes. And this is, thank you. That's an excellent point and a sutra to remember. This is brought up in the story of Hiranyakashipu, because when Hiranyakashipu asked for a benediction from Brahma, and Brahma said, oh, all right, I have to give it to you because you did all these austerities, mentioned there by Shukadev Goswami, don't ask for something you can't maintain. Everybody knew you can't maintain this no matter how many austerities you do, no matter how qualified you look at the time, it's going to crush you. The living entity can't handle that kind of stuff. We don't do well in the material energy, no matter how well situated we are. So Hiranyakashipu became powerful in the material sense through manipulation of the energy, but then he was crushed by it, and ultimately now stands as the iconic figure for how the material world doesn't work. And Prahlad Maharaj says that in his prayers. He says to Lord Nrsingadev, I already saw my father. He got everything. There's nobody that got more than him. And in a second, he lost it all. So why would I want to follow in his footsteps? I don't want to touch it. It's not restraint. It's realization. Such nice points, Prema. Thank you so much. Look we have Sri Madhava Mahotsava Prabhu. He says, being captured and killed by illusion, and reminds me of a deer being killed by the illusion of water in a desert mirage. Yes, Prabhupada gives that example. In fact, it comes up several times in the Bhagavatam. There's in the prayers of Akrura, he talks about how I've gone away from oasis, I've gone out in the desert, and Prahlad Maharaj says in his prayers to Lord Nrsingadev, Kutrashisha Shruti Sukham Mrigatrishni Rupa, that this material world is like a mirage. Mrigatrishni, Mriga means a deer. And Mrigatrishni, he's thirsty, a thirsty deer. Mrigatrishni Rupa, and what does he see? The Rupa? He's seeing water in the desert. It's not there. It's just a reflection, but he runs after it anyway, thinking that he's going to get some satisfaction, but he drops dead trying. And so that's what I do in the material world. I think I'm going to get it. It's just around the corner. You know, I remember when I was a little kid, I thought, when am I going to get older? Be, like a bigger boy. And then when am I going to be a teenager? Then it's really something. Of course, I joined the Hare Krishna movement, but that changed a lot of things. But then I know the psychology is when I get to my 20s, then I'll be happy. No, when I'm in my 30s, and then life goes on. It's a chase, and I never quite get there. And then I drop dead trying, and I have to start over again. And Krishna said, you want to try again? He said, let me go for the race. So the devotees, Bahunam Jamanamante Gyanavam Mam Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabha. After many, many, many chases like that, finally, the intelligent person says, no mas. I give up. I'm surrendering to Krishna. He's everything. So thank you. Madhava also said, also, when you quoted by limited conjectural endeavors reminds me that I can't even see my eyelids without a mirror, and being so impotent to understand Krishna through blunt seeing. Yes. So we should take Krishna's advice to become very humble. Amanidvam, adamdipvam, ahimsa shantirarjavam, acharyopasanam. He talks about the elements that allow us to enter deeply within the process of understanding Krishna. And that's being humble, being prideless. Devavrata is ready to go.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I was just appreciating the point how just as like everything is being nourished by the sun, everyone's being maintained by Krishna. And I was singing this song by Bhaktivinoda Thakur this morning about becoming the Vaishnav's dog. And in that, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is just leaving everything in Krishna's hands. Like, you'll take care of my meal, you'll take care of my shelter. All I want to do is just continue to worship your lotus feet. So I was just thinking about something that Radhika Nagar told me when I was in Mayapur, which is just trust Krishna, because everything's under his control. Whereas the materialist, he tries to make all adjustments to try to make himself happy. The devotee just becomes satisfied with whatever Krishna is giving him.
Yeah, thank you for reminding us that. It's very important. There's a good example of this in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in which now the Muni's name went out of my head suddenly. He prayed for a wife after 10,000 years. Please refresh my memory, somebody.
Kardama Muni.
Kardama Muni, yes. So Kardama Muni, such a great sage that when Krishna saw his austerities and his endeavor to please him, he shed a tear, did the Lord. And that created that Sarovara there, which was started by the Lord's tear. Can you imagine? Krishna shed a tear out of compassion for his devotee, appreciating his sincerity. And of course, in the beginning of the creation, there's a way in which this open order is there to populate the universe and stuff like that. So it's one of his duties. And as a sage, of course, he's performing these austerities, and then the Lord appears to him out of this compassion. And then he says that in his prayers, he said, I need a wife to fulfill my duty. And so the Lord says, yes, I know already. This is instructive because Ishvara sarvabhutanam hridaya sharajuna tishtiti brahmayan sarvabhutani yantra rudrani maya. Krishna knows what's in our heart. He knows more than we do. And he understands the intention of the devotee and the desires of the devotee. And when we direct our desires towards serving him and pleasing him, then he'll make the energies work in that way. Tesham satata yuktanam pachatam priti purvakam dadami buddhiyogam tam yenamam upayantite. If you're just sincere and you try, then Krishna moves heaven and earth to facilitate our practice of devotional service. So my main point in this is that Kardama Muni then left up the decision and the arrangement to the Lord. And Prabhupada says, when you have some desire, and Bhagavatam says, akama sarva kama va moksha kama udaradi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. You should approach Krishna, but here's how you do it. You put it before Krishna, I need this, but then you leave it up to him how to do it. Don't try to jam it in there. Try to, wait for the hole to open by Krishna's arrangement. So he said to Kardama, I've made an arrangement for you. And Prabhupada said, Krishna can always make a better arrangement than we can. So be patient. He knows, and let him help us to serve him better. Then Ankita said, why is it not a sin to kill and eat plants? It is a sin. But it's the rule of the material world is jivasa jivanam. Ahastani sahastanam aparani chatushparam palguni tatra mahatam jivo jivasa jivanam. Shaunaka Rishi says that what the living beings that have hands are prey on the ones who don't have hands, the ones that have legs prey on the ones who don't have legs, and the general rule holds that one living being is food for another, and it's sinful. That's the whole material world is sinful from top to bottom. You can't live here without committing sin. If you breathe, if you move, if you eat, if you drink water, if you grind grains, if you walk around, you're killing living entities. And certainly killing plants. I mean, even in the process of gardening, there's so many deaths you have to create. Cotton. You say, I just wear cotton. I'm a vegan. And you know how many gerbils you killed to get your cotton? Millions of them. They live in cotton plants, and they go by and they take the gerbils are killed. You can't get away from it by taking a broom around. Therefore, we're not vegetarians. We're prasadamatarians. So whatever we eat, we first offer to Krishna, and we offer to Krishna what he likes. He doesn't like dead flesh. If he did, we'd have no problem with it, but he doesn't. And so he says, Patram pushpam palam doyam, offer me some spinach with a tulsi leaf on top. So that's what we do. And when you offer to Krishna, it becomes shishta. This is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, that when you offer things to the Lord and you take the remnants, you're no longer a sinner. But if you just cook vegetables, you're a vegan, and you eat vegetables all day long, and you don't offer them to Krishna, then you're eating only sin. So we're not vegetarians. We're not vegans. We eat prasadam. And that's our lifestyle, is we're for Krishna. And we take shelter of Krishna's order in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarva dharman parityaja mame kam sharanam vraja, aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishami ma suchaha. You take shelter of me to be free from all these sinful reactions. Nonetheless, people who say, what's the difference between eating plants and eating animals, you're killing the same thing, they lack vivek, or discrimination. As Prabhupada would say, then if you think there's no difference between killing a goat and killing, taking the top off of a beet or something like that, then why don't you eat your baby? Why don't you just take it to the extreme and say, if there's no difference between one form of life and another, then are you going to eat your baby? You wouldn't do that. There's, even on the material plane consideration, there's some consideration that a less violent type of a diet is better. But that's not our main argument. Our main point is that we're for Krishna. Bal Mukund Prabhu says 4 transcendental features: his personality, his impersonal effulgence, particles of his potency, the living being, and the principal cause of all causes. What is difference between personality and principal cause of all causes? I understand Krishna is personality, and principal cause of all causes, sarva karana is the same. This is for the sake of explicating all the different features of the Lord, because it's very specifically mentioned in the Shastra how he extends himself and makes the creation happen, and how he's the supreme cause of all causes. So in the form of Sankhya, or counting categories, which can be counted in many different ways, and it doesn't, it can be changed at different times, the way the categories are counted. That's one of the categories to distinguish that Krishna is also the cause of all causes, that he expands himself through his energies into the world. Bal-Mukunda?
Thank you, Maharaj. It explains.
Okay. Vaikuntha Nayaka Prabhu weighing in from South India. This is regarding the statement, and it's a reflection: even fundamental knowledge of material creation bewilders the scientist. I was reminded of a lecture by Sadaputta Prabhu. He was saying how the scientists are going in circles trying to understand life. The scientists thought that if they need to understand life, they need to understand biology. But then the biologists said that it all boils down to chemicals. So the scientists thought that by the study of chemistry, we can understand biology and hence life. And then the chemist said that everything in chemicals is about molecules and atoms, and that only physics can help you understand. And then people studying physics came up with the theory reality at the level of atoms is dependent on the observer, someone with life. So we are back to square one. We started off trying to understand life and then ended up concluding that only one with life can understand life. And they accuse religionists of infinite regress. Well done. Bravo. Very nicely done. You saved that. That's good. We should make a little pamphlet out of that and distribute it. Power phrase: opposite of love is not hate but indifference. Yes. If you've ever felt indifference, I mentioned that in a little movie we made in Mayapur about the glance. In the beginning of creation, there's the glance, Maya Yakshena Prakriti. Krishna looks over the material nature and it manifests. If you don't get somebody's glance, if somebody averts their glance, doesn't give you intention, they're indifferent to you, then there's a way in which we feel the void. Shraddha, another power phrase, a void has the word void in it. So when you avoid someone, you are creating a void, a gap. Yes. Srimadhava Mahotsava reflection. Your explanation of Harinam in New York reminds me of Bhagavad Gita 11:36, where Arjuna says to Krishna, the whole world becomes joyful upon hearing your name, but the demons are afraid, and they flee here and there. All this is rightly done. Yes, good citation. You can understand that it's always been there, this phenomenon in the material world. When you bring the transcendental vibration, some people run away because they don't want to hear it. Rupa Goswami says, Yadabaso pyudyan kablita bhavadvante vibhavo drishan tatvandanam api dishati bhakti pranayinim. That when they hear it, however, it awakens in them some sense of their relationship with Krishna. It's so powerful. It's hard to get away from, actually. Because the holy name is an aggressor. He comes after us. He hunts us down. You can be somewhere hiding out in some island somewhere, and then you'll hear ching 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, and next thing you know, you're like, what is this Hare Krishna? I can't stop saying Hare Krishna. And then little do they know, Yadabaso Pyuda Kavalita Bhavadvanta Vibho, it's swallowing up the darkness, this name of Krishna. And Drisham Tattva Andanam, even if you're blind to Tattva, the truth, then this name will awaken you to the truth of your existence. That, hey, I forgot, I'm a Hare Krishna. Be careful. If you say Hare Krishna, you become a Hare Krishna. Then we have power phrase from the conqueror, by taking care of his conquest, becomes a slave. Ooh, sent by Prema from Argentina, the care package from Argentina. Madhava Prema, Krishna can make better plans for us than ourselves. Yeah, that's definitely a power phrase. Bhakti and Barsha, good to see you. We are Krishnatarians. That's correct. It's the only sane argument that actually effectively works. It's the only place to stand is under Krishna. That we're with Krishna, deal with it. Shraddha Devi Dasi, another power phrase, we are not vegetarians, we are prasadamatarians. We're Krishnatarian, we are prasadamatarians. Bas. Okay, now we have a 1-minute break, so please talk amongst yourselves, some Krishna Katha, and I'll be right back.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
The reference to Hiranyakashipu being crushed by his own powers or material nature reminds me of, there's so much scientific advancement, nuclear weapons, nuclear power, and now it's become a burden, a great burden. Military advancements become a great burden on the survival of the planet, and how some of these conveniences, they've put the planet into jeopardy. Destruction of forests, and so the same scientists turn around, having invented, maybe it's of course it's a different batch of scientists, but they go, oh no, wait, we've sped up your use of so much energy, now slow down, stop, it's destroying us. Like the Frankenstein, you create a Frankenstein, now kills you, or you open Pandora's box and you can't close it. So just a reflection.
Very nice, Prabhu.
Very nice points, Sri Madhava Mahotsava, very nice points. We can see it practically in our lives and in the world and in the planet. Yesterday during my corporate talk, somebody asked, I mentioned that when we direct our love, it was about love yesterday, when we direct our love to our original conscious source, who is love personified, then we naturally feel aligned and completely happy. And she asks, when we do that, does it make our relationships with other people and with the planet better? And I was so happy to get such a good question. And I said, yes, it does, because we see everything in relationship to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore we show respect to the world. The mentality of trying to dominate the material nature comes back to bite us. And when we think of everything in relationship to the Supreme Lord and we worship nature, for instance, in the Panchatric Vidhi, before you step on the floor, when you wake up in the morning, you say, "Oh, Mother Bhumi, please forgive me for stepping on your surface." There's this way that we walk lightly, and we only take what's needed. Ishavassamidang sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena. What's your quota? If you're hogging stuff and you try to take more than your quota and just pile it up, and then you're transgressing, and it's going to come back on you. So I was explaining how well placed her question was, because consciousness of our original divine source and giving our love there means that we become aware of how everything is sacred and should be treated nicely and should be dealt with accordingly. And even nature is divine. It's part of Krishna's energy. Who would throw a plastic cup on the ground knowing that it's not going to biodegrade? I mean, it's unconscionable. But if you're out of Krishna consciousness, then you just think, I'm the enjoyer, our material civilization will solve it later, doesn't matter. You throw something down and it's an abomination. What to speak of all the other kinds of exploitation of resources and of people. And Shraddha Devi Dasi says, from earlier tribute to His Holiness Bhakti True Swami, bottle your grief and drink from it later on the Tirobhava day. Yeah. Okay, so do we still have, is Jamila still on the call?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, that's so nice. You know the bhajan, it's called Bhajan Gita. Do we have that anywhere by any chance? I know I should have asked for it earlier, but the thing is, I just thought of it. Bhajare bhajare ama manati manda. The reason I thought of this is this song really by Bhaktivinoda Thakur is about remembering the Vaishnavas. When you remember the devotees, ajasra smara smarare, just remember, always remember the devotees. And he names the various great devotees of the Lord. And just by remembering, we become perfectly purified. So it's the preoccupation of the devotees to remember other great devotees and to remember Krishna. And this song brings that out. Is there a hope that we could get the song, or is that...
we have it, Maharaj.
You have it. Well, that is so nice. So can I switch over to Jamulus now?
Yes.
Okay, here I go. I'm going through the rabbit hole to the other side. I'll see you there in 1 second or two. Hare Krishna. Bhajare. Bhajare, bhajare. Bhaja. Worship. This re means oh. Like oh, bhajare, just worship. Bhajare, bhajare, amar. Mana ati manda. Let's look at the translation first, please. My mind, how foolish you are. Oh, just worship. Oh, just worship the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna in the forest of Vraja. Oh, without such worship, there is no means of spiritual advancement. Just worship the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna in the forest of Vraja. Oh, giving up all speculative knowledge and materialistic activities. Just worship Gaura, Gadadhar, Advaita, and Lord Nityananda, the original spiritual master. Oh, knowing Lord Gaura and Lord Krishna to be the same. Oh, knowing the spiritual master to be very dear to Krishna. Just remember the dear associates of Lord Caitanya, namely Srivas Thakur, Haridas Thakur, Murari Gupta, and Mukunda Datto. Oh, in deep love for Lord Gaura, you should remember, just remember the two great personalities, Srivas Thakur and Haridas Thakur. Just remember Sri Rupa Goswami, Sanatan, Jiva, and the two Raghunaths. Oh, if you are engaged in worshipping Lord Krishna, just remember the two great souls, Sri Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami. Just remember Raghava Pandit, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Swarup Damodar Goswami, and Ramananda Roy. Oh, if you really seek love of Krishna, just remember Swarup Damodar Goswami and Ramananda Roy. Just remember Srila Kavi Karnapur and all his family members, especially his father, Shivananda Sain. Oh, always remember, Shri Kavi Karnapur and his family. Just remember all the sadhus who follow the path of Sri Rupa Goswami and who are absorbed in the ecstasy of bhajan. Oh, if you actually want residence in the land of Vraj, just remember the sadhus who are followers of Srila Rupa Goswami. Bhajare, bhajare manati manda.
Bhajare, bhajare,
Bhajare, bhajare manati manda. Bhajan vinna gati nahi re. Bhaja braja bane Radha Krishna Sharanaravinda. Bhaja braja bane Jnana karma parihadire. Bhaja braja bane Radha Krishna Bhaja Gaura Gadadhara Advaita Guru Nityananda. Bhaja Bhaja Gaura Gadadhara Advaita Guru Nityananda. Bhaja Gaura Krishna Vida Jenere Gaura Krishna Guru Krishna Prishta Jenere Smara Srinivas Haridas Murari Mukunda Smara
Srinivas Haridas Murari Mukunda
Smara Srinivas Haridas Murari Mukunda Smara
Srinivas Haridas Murari Mukunda
Gaura Preme Smara Smara Re
Gaura Prema Smara Smara
Smara Srinivas Haridase Smara
Srinivas Haridas
Smara Rupa Sanatana Jiva Raghunatha Dvandva Smara Smara Rupa Sanatana Jiva Raghunatha Dvandva Smara Krishna Bhajan Jari Kobere Krishna Bhajan Arupa Sanatane Smara Rupa Sanatan Smara Raghava Gopala Bhatta Swarup Ramananda Smara Smara Raghava Gopala Bhatta Swarup Ramananda Smara Krishna Prema Jari Chaure
Krishna Prema Jari
Swarup Ramanande Smara
Swarup Ramanande
Smara Goshti Sahakarna Pura Saint Shivananda Smara
Goshti Sahakarna Pura Sena Shivananda
Smara Goshti Sahakarna Pura Saint Shivananda Smara
Goshti Sahakarna Pura Sena Shivananda
Ajastra Smara Smara Re Goshti Sakarna Pure Smara Rupa Nuga Sadhu Jana Bhajana Ananda Smara Smara Rupa Nuga Sadhu Jana Bhajanananda Smara Braje Baschari Chaove Brajabas Rupanuga Sadhu Smara Rupanuga Smara Ajasra Smara Smara Re Ajasra Ajasra Smara Smara Re Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo. Hare Bolo. Chant Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Nitai Gauda Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gauda Hari Bo. Ajasra Smara Smara Re, Ajasra Smara, Ajasra Smara Smara Re. Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav Thakur. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. I go to Premanande, Hari Hari Bo, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki,
Jai.
Shri Harinam Mahamantra ki,
Jai.
Gaura Premanande. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. Ajastra Smara, Gaur Premanande Haribo. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. We went back to the other side. We came back from. See, in Vaikuntha, you can go to all different sides. In Goloka, anywhere you want to go, you can go there and worship, and you can go to another forest, and in each place you can transfer, because it's like a lotus, and then the petals close, and then you can walk from one place to the next to see Krishna, be with Krishna, and enter into different pastimes. There's unlimited freedom in the spiritual world just to glorify Krishna constantly. So, in a minute we're going to have the Guru Puja.
Guru Maharaj, you had given us the goal making sheet that you'd asked us to make last time.
Yes.
I was sitting and working on that last week, and I realized that it was very pleasing for me personally to realize that when we sit down and we start thinking about our goals, not many material goals turned up. And I was thinking that we feel like sometimes we're not making any progress and we're not doing our services, or we're just stuck in the mud. But sitting down and actually assessing and analyzing what our life is about and what we want to do, whom we want to serve, really helps us get a sense of whether we're progressing or not, or we're in the right direction.
Yes, it does. Thank you for bringing that up. And as I brought up in another class recently, I use these Ziploc bags a lot. They're very convenient. This one's called Daily Disciplines. Daily Disciplines. Is it backwards? Or you can read that. And in it, I keep my goals written on sheets. For instance, as I mentioned, that process of putting down your main priorities in life. And then if you have your priorities on a sheet like this, notice how I'm not showing them, then you can make Krishna conscious affirmations. You have your goals written down. Just the process, taking time to write these things down, I recommend keeping them, main priorities, your specific goals, your affirmations, and things like that. And any other kind of things where you want to progress, where you have to practice at least 15 minutes a day to make progress in something. Keep it all in one place. And then you can pull it out and say, once I go through this stack, then I'll be fortified for the day. And it's extremely edifying and inspiring to reread your main purposes every day. The mind just thrives on it, because the Prabhupada says the mind becomes morose due to a lack of a worthy goal. And when your mind is fixed on your priorities, then when people see you, they'll go like, what happened to you? And I remembered that I'm a goal-seeking organism. And if you forget that, then you just have to accept what anybody tells you. Let's go here, let's go there. And then you feel morose because you don't feel engaged in your ultimate purpose of life. So the best thing about being a human, and if you look around, you see we're humans. we get to decide and write it down what we want to keep as our main priorities. And even within Krishna consciousness, you say, well, my priorities become Krishna conscious. Okay, make it more detailed. In what order? What's the most important thing to you? Do you want to prepare for death? Is that a priority to you? If you forget about that and then remember at the last minute, it's like doing your taxes about 10 minutes before they're due. And that never turns out very well, does it? Then you got to, put an extension and do it next time. So same thing, if you don't get ready for death, then you got to do an extension and do it next time or the next time after that. Don't put it off. Do it now. Why not? Be the one who's prepared for death because you thought of it ahead of time. Or maybe you have other priorities you want to make. Maybe one of your priorities is to become well-read. When you actually articulate it, I want to be well-read, well-versed. I make it my culture not to criticize Vaishnavas. That could be another one. I make it a point to cultivate my relationship with my family. I take time, I invest in it. That could be a priority. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying these could be priorities. And once you have them there, then your life is directed. So take time. It's actually the one thing you can do that will, no matter where you are, give you a spring in your step because you'll be thinking, oh, now I've got somewhere to go. It won't be morose.
Prabhu, I just wanted to mention that I had written down 5 goals and 3 of them matched with what you said. So I'm super happy.
I'm super happy. If I'm thinking like you are, then I'm lucky. Very good.
I have a question though, Prabhu. I was just wondering, like, if we have a goal of going deep within doing our japa, so then should we put down sub goals for those?
Yeah. See, it keeps going. Because then, let's just say you have 7 or 5 main priorities in life. And then under there, you're going to start making, 5 subcategories. From them, 5 subcategories. And from there, write your Magna Carta. The whole United States is based on a document, Magna Carta. Then they said, let's do one for our little piece of land that we stole from the indigenous people. We'll make a little constitution and say the way things are run. And because of that, everyone sat down, they had meetings, they decided, what do we want? We want it different from the way it was under the crown. And this is what the freedoms are going to be. And this is these are our driving forces. A lot of them were metaphysical. And then once they had it on the document, they all signed it, even at the risk of their life. And that's why it perpetuated. And then they modified it after that with the Bill of Rights. They said, well, this isn't enough. We need some more subcategories. And it's still going on because you take it to court and say, what about this one? And say, no, it needs to be this way, that way, according to this time in history. So they change it a little bit. But you're directed. You have to be directed. You have to have your own personal Magna Carta. So take the time to write about what your life is for. And then you take that Magna Carta and you preserve it. And you look at it every day and you go over it and say, this is why I exist. This is why I have. And then you'll realize, I only have a few days left here on the planet. So what am I going to do with them? This is what I'm going to do. And I'm not going to get caught up in trivia because I don't have time. I got to fulfill my ultimate purposes here.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. Excellent. Anybody else do their homework? Well, all you need is a pad. I recommend these pads, big pads. I like this one. It's called Mixed Media. You can draw, you can paint on it. It's got this really nice paper where you can use all kinds of colors. Even if you wanted to do watercolors, you could here. And you collect these. You can put a sticker on the front, what your particular book is for, and then you can work on it. Make sure you give yourself enough room to write. Don't pick a tiny little piece of paper or scrap. I mean, even that's okay. But if you give yourself a little more room to think and grow and think on paper and then start looking at it every day. And then you can refine it as you go. You can even make affirmations. These are very nice to have. If you have affirmations, I'll read you a couple of mine. Affirmations get you going in the right direction every day. Here's 10 of them. I am the architect of my life. I practice with focused attention and sincerity to develop good habits. 2, I am disciplined in my service to my guru. 3, my body is healthy, my mind is brilliant, my habits are balanced. You don't have to write them down, I'll give them to you. 4, I see that I'm not my body or mind, and that I am therefore superior to negative thoughts and low actions. 5, I forgive easily. 6, I listen carefully for Krishna's voice, which leads me to new brilliant ideas in his service. 7, I go out of my way to encourage myself and others. 8, I appreciate devotees. 9, everything that is happening now is happening for my ultimate good by Krishna's arrangement. 10, I depend on Krishna's holy names in all circumstances. So if you start the day with this affirmation, then it echoes in your mind throughout the day. And
Vaisesika Prabhu,
yes,
that's brilliant. That's super brilliant. Thank you for sharing that priceless piece of wisdom. So thank you.
Oh, you're quite welcome, Prabhu. You're the brilliant one in the family here. Huh? Someone else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Dandavat
Good to see you,
pranam, Shri
Rajeshwari
Jai Shri
Leela. Hare Bo.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much for such a another wonderful class. I'm just so inspired and fired up. I have a question. In the process of setting goals, I've noticed, at least in few of my friends and in my own personal life as well, that when we make the goals, with husband and wife, they're different. One may have a priority to, when the kids are young, to focus on their education, and another might have a higher priority to just pursue spiritual life and let Krishna take care of everything else that follows. And I find myself at crossroads, because how do I guide myself and others who are in this kind of a situation, as to what is the better priority? Should one just give up their priorities and follow their spouse's priorities? Because we don't want the boat to sink while trying to both keep our goals, in our own priority. So how do we balance that, or how do we, deal with that?
Well, everybody's different. There's no stereotype. The way couples fit together is always, it has some imperfect edges. And the way to make it work in the best possible way you can is through open communication. That's why Nirkula and I always recommend that before people get married, they do premarital counseling and start the communication process early. This is how we talk and coordinate. Everyone has different natures. Nirkula once said to me, "I'm low maintenance. I'm not no maintenance." You got to take time. You have to take time to invest and talk and relationships develop by trust. Trust develops by communication and by consistency in keeping promises and things like that. It's the most sacred thing. And when you have a good relationship and you can work together because of trust and that's developed by communication, and then you become empowered. It's an empowering relationship. Look at the Prachetas. They were empowered by Krishna because they cooperated. So Grihastha ashram with relationships, it's the main lesson. How do I learn to put others' needs before myself so they can thrive, but at the same time I have a base for which my needs are being fulfilled, so I'm in a natural position of life. You have to have bala, oja, and tejas to survive anywhere. You have to have strength of mind, enthusiasm. You have to have some sensual strength, and your life has to feel comfortable. And so if you're out of balance in any of those places, then you have to negotiate it so you can have that and at the same time go on serving others. So it takes a little work, yeah. Now, just excuse me for one more minute. I'll be right back. I have some...
Mother Mahotsav Prabhu, do you have more gems coming our way? Or anybody else?
I really like the point that Prabhu was just mentioning, that how we have to balance everything out.
Yeah, especially the one where he says in the very beginning of today's lecture, don't go off your medicine, you'll go crazy. And I realized, oh my God, that was what it was. Like when you get off your meds and the pain hits you, or if you get off your meds and you start clogging up again, and then you realize, oh my God, I go get my meds again. You realize we are here to, we are diseased and we're here to find a cure. So obviously we do have to take our medication every day. If we think we're healthy.
I was just thinking, Mataji, how whatever Vaisesika Prabhu read, there is no difference from his affirmations and who he is. So I always think, like, how come he can forgive? He just personifies each and every one of those affirmations.
It was not just forgive, it was forgive easily. I was like, how do you do that? You know?
And then how to go an extra mile to encourage everyone.
Yeah.
That was something that touched my heart. Yes. And then I do everything with focus, because even though we do the devotional service for many years, because that focus is not there, we don't make progress. But even though he's so exalted, he still has those goals that I want to do it with focus. Thank you, Prabhu, for sharing those. We were just talking about how you embody everything that you just said.
And more, Vaisesika Prabhu.
I'm running behind you all. And
Prabhu,
counting myself lucky that Krishna dropped me off in the midst of actual devotees. Thank you.
Oh, you're going to share those affirmations with us, right?
Yeah, I'll share them. You can have those. I'll send a copy so that you could just put it out on everyone can have one.
One last point. This is Srivas Panditas here.
Yes, Prabhu.
The fact that you said encourage yourself and others, that's a very important point. Often at the time, we have to have that balance. So thank you.
I know. In lockdown, I realized I have to be my own best coach. You know, there's so much time I spend alone now, and I find myself talking to myself. Come on, you can do it now. Get up, boy. Come on over here, boy. And I realize, you have to coach yourself up, and you have to keep going. You just have to stay alive. And it's an important period for us all now under lockdown to see. This is like a little test for a little while. Like, how can we do now that situation's different? We have to trust ourselves, and when we have that, then we feel confident in telling other people. Like, I was counseling a couple other young devotees the other day, and they were saying, well, that sounds like hard to follow. And I said, I wouldn't tell you if I wasn't following it myself. I wouldn't have the gall to tell you to shoot for something like that if I wasn't doing it. And any of our potency comes from what we're able to do ourselves. Otherwise, well, let me say the otherwise point. The point is that if you do something and you realize it to some degree, then that's what you can really share that has potency. And even if you don't share it, your life will have potencies. Potency comes from integrity. Not that I have much, but I'm just saying that those who do have it, that they emanate something. There's a molecule that comes out that you can't get anywhere else. It's something that's true because it matches with what they're actually doing. Dayanidhi, Haribo. Prabhu, go ahead.
I think I accidentally hit unmute.
Well, lucky for us, it's good to see you, our cowherd boy. You're going to Goloka, you know that?
Hare Krishna. I sure hope so.
I'm just saying.
Just one last point. Just on the mention of you having paucity of integrity, let me mention that you are the touchstone of integrity that is kind of rubbing on others. So,
by your association, Srivas Pandit Prabhu, and you know that very well. Hare Krishna.
Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, hey, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman.